So I started thinking about everything in my life way more seriously roughly 4 years ago. Now, I wanted to share a little bit of what I was going through at the time, what kind of, I guess you could say, mindset I had before, and help you understand a little bit about why you should take life seriously and how you get to that point. So, for the most part, for the past over 10 years, at that point, I'm 24 now. So, when I was 20, over the past 10 years, for the most part, I've just been coursing through life, cruising, not really doing anything important, not really doing anything valuable, not really learning that many things that were like extremely vital, important skills. On the other hand, I was extremely self-centered. I would always have the biggest ego, and I would always be super shy and super introverted at the same time. So, for the most part, I spent my days playing video games all day. Just all day. For the most part, strategy games or shooter games or whatever the fuck, okay? And what I noticed is that when I turned 20, I had a hard conversation with one of my friends. And to be perfectly honest with you, that was the very pivotal moment that for the most part everything changed for me. Because I looked at myself in the mirror and I really, really despised, you could even say hated, what was staring back at me in the mirror. I was overweight. I was over 100 kilos. That's like 220 pounds, something like that. And to be perfectly honest with you, I wasn't really proud of anything that I had done so far. I didn't really dress in a very good way. I didn't really care about my appearance. I didn't really care about anything. But at the end of the day, I did care, because the emotions and the feelings that I felt whenever I would stare at myself in the mirror, and I would look at myself and I would be like, this is making me angry. This is making me mad. This is making me full of rage at myself. And so I figured out something inside of me. Something inside of me just clicked at that time. And ever since then, I started taking life very, very, very seriously. I started working on myself every single day. It didn't matter how small the effort was. It didn't matter how big the effort was. The point being, I worked on myself and I did something, just something to improve on a day-to-day basis. It could be going to the gym. It could be going for a run. It could be learning something important online. It could be talking to somebody that has more life experience or more wisdom than I do, and asking them for advice on what I should be doing now. And I repeated this process over and over and over and over again until I actually got to the point where four years later, I feel like I've done so many things. I feel like the last 4 years haven't actually been 4 years. It feels like it's been like a lifetime, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And this is what happens when you really focus on building yourself and growing as an individual. If you haven't noticed right now, the state of the world is in a very hard position. I don't really think that hard positions mean that some people should just stop working altogether or stop doing anything about it and just embrace victimhood. Instead, I think everybody should do their best with what they have. If you have both of your arms and both of your legs, you can still do things. If you have your brain, your eyes, your mouth, your nose, your ears, all of your senses, you can do things, right? You can do things, you can build things, you can think about things, you can take action. This is important. And so, over the past 4 years, I've been just waking up every day and taking action, doing my best, and just trying to figure something out. I do not go to sleep without having done something. And if for the entire day I was extremely lazy, which doesn't happen anymore, but it used to happen, I remember. Sometimes I used to be extremely lazy, or I would get distracted, or I would get some kind of thing that would just sidetrack my entire day, and then I would get back home by 8-9 p.m. or later and think to myself, you know what, I actually haven't done anything today. And so I would sit in front of my computer, I would get some work done, and then I would go to bed. But I would never end the day without getting a little bit of work done. Just like I own my own company, right? So if I don't reach out to clients, I don't get any new clients, right? Like, it's just not gonna happen. So in this case, if I don't outreach for a day, that's a net negative for my business. So my business benefits if I reach out to people every day. It increases the likelihood of me landing a deal or a new deal. So in that case, why wouldn't I spend the end of the day like 5-10 minutes to just reach out to like a couple people? Or if I have the strength, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, the entire day if I can. Because the point being, when you take your life seriously, you start focusing on doing better, not only in all different areas of your life respectively, but also on the most important key area that is going to move the needle furthest, fastest, most efficiently. Let's say the best needle moving action that I can take in my business is actually reaching out to people in order to land new deals. But in that case, I need to do more of that. Period. Very simple. The needle moving action, if I want to get into a gym to get a six-pack, is making sure my nutrition's in check and I'm not eating too much or I'm not eating too little. And I need to make sure the protein's on point. And you could say the same thing with dating and relationships. If you never ask anybody out, it's going to be very, very rare that you get into a relationship. Sure, it's happened to me before where women have walked up to me and said, hey, how's it going, da da da, and started a chat. But to be perfectly honest with you, if you don't really do anything yourself, it's very rare for anything to happen to you. Life doesn't really happen to people. That's mostly reserved for children and maybe women. And let's say pets or animals, you could also make an argument for. But for the most part, men, life doesn't happen to men. You need to happen to life if you want it to go a certain way. Otherwise, nothing's gonna happen. It's that simple. And so you really need to think for yourself, what are you going to do today? I talk about this time and time again. What you decide to do today is going to dictate who you are. The habits you build, the actions you take, the environments you're a part of, the reps you do. Everything matters. And everything you don't do matters as well. The more I skip out on going to the gym, the more I'll feel like skipping out on by going to the gym, because I'll have other instances in my mind where I've skipped out on this day, so if I skip out today, it's fine because I skipped out the other time, so I could skip out more. It's kind of like when I was a kid and I didn't want to go to school, and I would talk to my parents and I would say, hey, I don't want to go today. And they would be like, no, you have to go. And I would be like, yeah, but I don't want to go. Like, it's shit. Like, and I would give them this entire irrational argument as to why I didn't want to go. And then they would say, okay, well, I'll call school and you can stay here. So every single time I wanted to not go to school, I would just ask my parents, hey, I don't want to go to school. Can you call school, please? And they would be like, no. And then I would be like, can you do it, please? And they would be like, oh, okay. And they would call school. And they would be like, the friction and the amount of effort I would need to put in every single time to ask my parents to call school to say I'm not going to go got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Because the more I did it, the more they felt like, oh, it was just a normal thing to do. And so this happens the same thing by you skipping out days to the gym. If you don't go to the gym every single day and you skip a day or so, you're not going to want to go to the gym every single day anymore. And then you're going to make up excuses, and then you might just stop going altogether. This is the same thing with when it comes to diet, when it comes to discipline, when it comes to dating relationships, when it comes to business, when it comes to scheduling out your day, when it comes to all of these different habits. At the end of the day, you are the sole person responsible for what happens. And so you get to decide today, what are you going to do? Are you going to just whoop-de-doo, cruise around and do whatever the fuck you want? Or are you actually going to put together a plan and try and figure something out? Sometimes I have days where it's very chaotic, my schedule. And so what ends up happening is I end up fucking around. I don't really do that anymore, but I used to fuck around and waste an entire day just watching videos or movies or whatever the fuck, or playing games, and get distracted. And so basically what used to happen when I would do this is I'd be like, oh, just one more game, just one more game, just one more episode, just one more episode, just one more game. And then I would stop myself and I would be like, you know what, enough's enough. And then I would switch everything off and I would turn back into my productive mode. And for the rest of the day, it would be really, really hard to do things because I had all of that dopamine from the TV shows, the movies, the video games that I used to do just before then. That would be like, oh yeah, but my mind would just be like, oh, this is easier, we can do that, that's more dopamine, that's nice, we can go there, and it feels nice to do that. But instead I had to force myself to sit down and to actually discipline it through, and it felt really shit in the moment. But that's what taking good decisions means. It means doing the right thing even if it feels like shit. And so there were multiple instances where this happened, right? And even though I'm not proud to say that it's happened to me, it has been a very informal, instructional educational lesson as to how I schedule my day. Now, I don't play video games until I'm done. I don't watch movies. I don't watch TV shows. I don't really do anything until I'm done with my work. I might watch something while I'm eating from time to time. But for the most part, I don't really entertain myself that much while I'm working. I've got working hours from time to time for, like, let's say 8 a.m. to 12, and then 1 to 3 or 4, 5, 6. And then after that, I've got specifically blocked out social time, family time, reward time, where I can do whatever I want with them or by myself. And in that case, for the most part, video games are something that I only do when I'm done with all of the tasks that I had planned for the day. And I use it as kind of a reward to finish the day, like, oh, I'm not really sure what to do. I want to disconnect a little bit out of the work to give my brain different ideas and things to think about. And I go into video games and I think to myself, this is actually distracting me. And then I get stressed and then I get back to work, or I just go to bed. And I wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and I get back to work. It's a very simple life. It's a very boring life, but that's what it means to have a serious life. And by facing this, I guess you could say, this shit feeling schedule, it allows me to build something that actually matters. And I'll get to reap the benefits and the rewards from that, what I've built, within the next couple of years, and then build a system that allows me to just live perfectly okay. Which is pretty nice to think about, but I'm not there yet. So, if you don't really know what you're doing, if you don't really know where you're going, what you're doing, different types of things, in terms of like what to do, I urge you to do what I did and take a piece of paper and write everything down of who you are, what you have, what you could do, what you would want to do, what you're doing now, what needs your time and attention, and just come up with a strategy to really think through what could you be doing that is different, that is better, that is more efficient, that is more faster, whatever it may be, okay? You need to really think for yourself. Am I actually doing the right thing? And even though this conversation with yourself might be a little hard, that means that's where growth is, and that's where growth relies. Having the tough conversations has been the number one thing that has helped me grow as an individual, not only with other people, but also with myself. I had to face myself in the mirror quite many times and think to myself, is what I'm doing right now the right thing? Is what I'm doing right now the most efficient thing that I can do right now? Is what I'm choosing right now the best choice I can make? Or is there something better to do? Could I be doing better? Could I be doing it more efficiently? And I question myself. And it feels like shit sometimes because I'm challenging my own ego, right? But that's a good thing. So that's what I recommend everybody does. So if this video was instructional or educational in any way, let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. like I say usually. I post videos every single day around the same topic of men need to do better, and how to do better, and how to become a more respectable man. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video tomorrow. It's a beautiful day, so it's time to get back to work. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.